Yeah, Paul Tucher once said that, sorry if I keep relating to it, Paul Tucher once said that the search for the ultimate state of being, especially on this earth, is like the search for utopia, which is unrealistic, unattainable. Now, Duane, is the new presentation what the wonderful world educators are presenting, uh, not some kind of utopia? What we're presenting is on the premises that everything is equal. Everything being equal, that is, when everyone is doing the same thing and reading the same books and singing the new song and all that. So when they do this, then we can begin to dream of doing something real, because uh, I think everyone is participating, and we can have some the desired results that we would like, especially in view of the all natural environment. So, what do you think that we're a bit utopic in our dreams, in our references, or what, Dwayne?
Well, no one's brought that utopic idea up except for you, Charles. It's interesting, but I'll ask you this question. As you look out and see the sun shining in the sky, and then you look at everything that's taking place on the earth, is there a difference? Do you see the difference?
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, there is, isn't there?
Yeah,
Does that
there is.
does that give you a hint to something at all, or not?
Well, it gives a hint, certainly.
Like what? What would the hint be for you? What do you see?
Well, the hint is that, according to me, really, is that life cannot be tampered with, and that we are just some our actions, our decisions in relation to the whole of life don't really matter. I think that's the hint I get.
Okay, it's understandable. And so each person, they're going to have their idea of it, aren't they? I could ask 100 people and it's all going to be whatever. And I would say there's a good percentage of people that won't know what to decide, etc. I see it as very simple, Charles, and that is that the sun shining makes sense because I recognize what it's demonstrating, all right? And that what's taking place on earth doesn't, but it's all about choice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is about choice.
Mm-hmm. It's all about choice. But yet at the same time, what is taking place on earth, according to what I've decided, okay, makes sense because I need that comparison, all right, to better recognize. And at the same time, there is an aspect of being here and stepping up just like the real guides because we have unaware individuals that are struggling to recognize what is real. And so I see that also. So what I've done is taken my place here to create all these things so that people have an opportunity to go through some kind of process and course to recognize it. Yes. And so each person will see it in their own way. But eventually the reality is the same. Yes, it is. That's the best part because it's complete and it's everything. And so seeing the difference between creation. Now, I can see where the misunderstanding comes in because people relate first to their personal self. And even Paul said this, and it was misunderstood. He said, well, you still keep your individuality. So people are thinking basically in the personal terms. It's like, oh, I'm still going to be Bob or Sue or Billy or whatever. Okay, see, again, still hanging on to that personal self. So they really never get to the point of recognizing the reality that life is. And so, yes, this becomes mission impossible. Yes. And so, again, it has nothing to do with the utopia or anything like that. No, that's in people's minds, people that won't take the time to understand what is really being presented. And I've seen many do that. And then all of a sudden they have an experience and, oh, they do a 180. And so, yeah, they're shown certain things, like in Kevin's experience of last week, where we were on the real side and in someone's backyard, and they had their attitudes, and all of a sudden something was shown, and then all of a sudden it shifted. And so, what I see is a very good example. That's why I use the sun, because, but you got to recognize it. You got to recognize the position that is played by the sun as an example, because this is easy. This is the easiest step for people. But yet it's like, well, that's a planet on fire or whatever. Yes, that is it too, but it's demonstrated. And it's just like you're a body here. Okay, it's the same thing, but you have an awareness inside that body. And so again, you decide with what you've come to know how to figure this out. That's the real part. Just like when you went to school and the teacher gave the assignment, you got to figure that out. The teacher's giving the assignment. So it's not really that life does anything. The boys act as intermediates to provide demonstrations to show people what is possible about this isness life is. Life itself just is like the sun shining. It's not considering this or that or whatever. And it's not that things are meaningless or what have you. No, that's up to each one of us to decide how anything is. It's not that they do have a meaning or they don't. That's not it. The reality of our experience here is to eventually wake up and recognize what life is and also what it isn't, and this isn't it. So we have to first go through what it isn't to recognize what it is and also recognize what it isn't. So we see the difference because that equals us recognizing and waking up to what life is. I know it's a little more than what we've been taught. So this is where everything that we've come through so far to this new nanas can only be a reference, not a reality. And this is where people try to drag the old ideas and stuff up and try to relate them accordingly. Just like when I was in the corporation, people came from religion or psychic paths, and they try to drag it into the same ideas. Well, it's not going to work. Not going to work at all. So again, it's like, yeah, you drive a Chevrolet, but now you're working at the Ford plant, and oh, someone banged into your car in the parking lot, and you want to put a new fender on your car. So, but hey, you work at the Ford plant. We don't have Chevy fenders here. Okay, we don't have them here. So that's kind of how it is. So our position is into recognizing what makes sense, and through the new you, etc. So yeah, again, these ideas that people play with, they're just that utopia and all these things. No, we're not building anything. We're creating situations to where it provides something for people to better recognize where they're at while they're here, and then eventually recognize and become more aware with their real awareness. It's not building a utopia of any kind. Those are the so-called heavens of man. Those are the what I call the designated heavens, because just like here, how this world has been built, and basically off the monetary system, people have been persuaded through that to steal their labor and to build and support things. Well, the heavens of man are the same. They're lovely places, and people think that, oh, okay, they've reached their particular position or whatever because this is what they've been told here. This is how they've been indoctrinated here. And so what is being presented with the new presentation is that no, there is real freedom in your real awareness, but you have to recognize that, Charles. So again, the difference between the sun shining and what's taking place on the earth, each person decides, but who do you know that will use that comparison for their personal life to start something, to try and figure out something that can even be considered, that is so unknown that it doesn't even seem like it can exist? Yeah, so this is the challenge in the journey. Myself, I like it. I'm very grateful going through all the hell and high water that I've went to finally figure this out to some point, but yet doesn't mean I'm done. It goes on and on. It's an endlessness, and I like to perceive this reality. But again, most people are trying to figure out. First, they've got to figure out themselves, first of all, and where they're at here and what they're deciding. And again, most people will just relate to their personal life. They'll in some way convince themselves and justify it to bring it around just to their personal life. Well, guess what? Personal life's going to be fine, as you become more aware, etc., and you start to see the difference. It's not, again, I've said it many times, there's no negating anything. There's no giving up anything. And there's no promised land. There's no such thing. I've never implied any of these things. It's about becoming more aware. That's the best part, and it's endless. So again, it's learning to read the unknown and making it known to where it makes sense with what's taking place right now. But that's a biggie. So the first step, yes, is to, the fun part is to recognize what is the sun demonstrating and comparatively. And yeah, the value of your personal life, well, you decide that. Yes, I see that my real awareness has a lot more value than my personal life, and I just deal with the personal life, etc. Because it's only going to last so long, fortunately. And then I won't have to deal with it. I'll be in a much better position to, stand real with the whole of life. That seems like the best, understanding and view of all. But again, it's each person has to go through their personal self, Charles. And just like you, how you've defined it, well, that's life according to you. You decided. So, it's not getting everybody together to think and be the same way. No, each person is going through, and like the degrees in a circle, there's 360. Well, in life, it's endless. All of us are this endless view in life. We are just a view. And this is where our real freedom lies, in the reality that, we don't need the five bodies. But getting through that point to recognize that, that's huge. Because for the most part, we're very attached, just like we're attached to these things here that we've created, and thinking that they're very special because we created them. Well, they are. But then again, there is more. So again, it's making that choice, isn't it? And deciding to compare, and then to do something about it or don't. So, that's up to you. That's up to the next person. Again, let's see what happens. Let's see who shows up. Thank you, Charles. We will see you next time. Yes, thank you, everybody. It's all for you. Let's have fun. Yes, thank Kelsey too. She's wonderful. She set all these things up. So the adventure goes on. Let's see what happens. Let's see who shows up. So thank you, everybody. Again, it's all for you. See you soon.